I thought distance would do the talking for me. It wasn't a dramatic escape, just a small getaway, 2 nights by the coast, a modest hotel, the kind of place couples go to reset. I didn't tell him it was a punishment, but that was the intention. I wanted him to sit in the quiet I created and finally understand how often I felt ignored, how easily he dismissed my concerns. I imagined the empty house amplifying my absence until it became unbearable. On the drive there, I ignored his calls. Each vibration of my phone felt like proof that my strategy was working. I told myself this wasn't manipulation, it was self-respect. I needed space. He needed perspective. That was the story I rehearsed until it sounded true. The room overlooked the water, but I barely looked at it. I spent more time checking my phone than breathing the air. His messages shifted in tone. First confusion, then irritation, then nothing. That silence should have felt like victory. Instead, it unsettled me. I replayed old arguments in my head, searching for reassurance. How many times had I withheld affection to make a point? How often had I used withdrawal as leverage instead of saying what I actually needed? I told myself I was protecting my dignity, but somewhere along the line, control had become my language. And like any language overused, it had lost its meaning. The second night, I couldn't sleep. I drafted messages I never sent, apologies tangled with justifications. I didn't want to surrender first. I wanted him to reach out in a way that felt different, remorseful, specific, changed. When that didn't happen, the room felt smaller. The sea outside sounded indifferent. Driving back, I rehearsed the confrontation. I imagined calm firmness. I imagined him defensive at first, then softened. I imagined myself measured, reasonable. In every version, I still had the upper hand. The house was quiet when I arrived. Not the heavy, waiting silence I expected, but something cleaner, neutral. My suitcase wheels echoed too loudly on the floor. The envelope was on the kitchen counter. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't dramatic. Just my name written neatly on the front, placed where I couldn't miss it. For a moment, I didn't open it. I stood there, keys still in my hand, trying to understand how the room had shifted without me. The papers were precise. Dates, language stripped of emotion. There was no accusation in them, no long explanation. Just a decision that had already passed through thought and consultation and formality. An authority I hadn't anticipated had spoken. And it didn't need my reaction to stand. I sat down because my body needed to, not because I was overwhelmed. What I felt wasn't shock. It was recognition. He had stopped negotiating. In the days that followed, we spoke very little. When we did, it was careful and procedural. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't list my flaws. That restraint hurt more than any accusation. It told me he had already grieved privately. He wasn't trying to win anymore. I realized then how often I had confused endurance with power. I thought leaving would force him to chase. That absence would make me valuable again. Instead, it gave him clarity. My silence had taught him how to live without explaining himself. There was no courtroom drama, no scene, just signatures and timelines, an unmistakable moment where control left my hands and didn't return. Not as punishment, just as consequence. I won't pretend I was innocent. I used distance like a blade, carefully, repeatedly. I believed emotional withholding was safer than vulnerability, but the cost was invisible until it was final. What surprised me most wasn't losing him. It was losing the version of myself who thought love could be managed through pressure. I had betrayed myself long before the papers existed. Now, when the house is quiet, it's quiet for real. There's no performance in it, no strategy, just space. I don't know yet what growth looks like. I only know that dignity didn't come from control, and punishment disguised as self-care isn't care at all. There's no victory here, just a clear line I crossed and can finally see.